is just go through my warm up again. And thanks to a good pal, I now have a slightly better setup and better mic. So hopefully it'll sound nicer. And I don't sound like some guy playing into his MacBook as much as playing into a microphone into his MacBook. But I'm going to go through my warm up stuff again. And then I will be happy to answer questions. If anybody has any, doesn't matter for what it's about. I know Josh Cockrell already submitted a question. He's a teacher down in, I can't remember if he's in Florida, Alabama at the moment, but he asked just about talk about getting into being a professional trombone player. So I'll get to that in a little bit, and feel free to ask away. It looks like, yeah, it looks like the comment section is all right. So yeah, all right, I'm gonna start off the way I start off every day, doing some nice long tones. And the reason I do those is it's a nice easy warm up on my face, gets the blood flowing, gets everything loose and ready to go for when I get into the more strenuous stuff like the lip slurs and some of the high register things. I start pretty easy. I just go chromatically down the horn, starting on an F. So you guys get to hear the very first notes I play today. Here we go. All right, so I just try and keep everything kind of a medium volume. I don't like to get too loud or anything like that. And just try and make sure I have a good sound. I don't use my tongue. I just get the air moving and try and have a nice sound to listen to the quality of my sound, listen to my intonation and that kind of stuff. I like to take just a second to breathe in between each one to not get too into it too quick. Oh, okay. So hard to hear what I'm saying. Does it work better at all if I'm speaking into this microphone? Or maybe I got to lean in down to here. Y'all let me know how it's working. I appreciate y'all helping me with this because I haven't really done a whole lot of it, so I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I'm learning along with you guys. This one right here, Clay is helping me out. Thank you, Clay. Perfect. All right, good. Well, I'll just work on remembering to bring this back up to my face and hopefully leaning in so you guys can hear a bit better. Oh, the mic we see is not working. Okay. That's no good. Well, I'll try my best to talk more into this one then. I'll bring it a little bit closer. Sorry if that's noisy and awful. So, I'll just put that one out of the way and I'll figure it out later. So, what I was talking about was I like to go slow with my warm ups and try and start real easy with the long tones, and I just go down chromatically. I started on F. You guys heard that, I'm sure. Hopefully. Oh, hi Nick Estathiou. How you doing? Hopefully you guys can hear me better if I speak toward this mic or lean into it a little bit when I'm not playing. Um, I'm going to continue my long tone warm up. I just got down to from C to B. Practicing B to B flat's no fun. I don't want to do it. Also, I'm not trying to work on slide technique at the moment. So I try to get all the way down to E on this horn. I will sometimes, with the horn with the F attachment, I'll work on going lower, maybe down to D or D flat, possibly C below the staff. If I'm on the bass trombone, I'll go into the pedal range. Right now, I feel like playing my Wrath R3, so I'm not going to go down the pedal range. What I will do, however, is go to my lip slurs. So we all know about lip slurs. We're either taught them in band or we teach them in band if we're band directors. Um, but nobody really talks about what they're important for. So, just to give you guys a heads up, they are important because they not only work kind of like yoga for your face, they are strength um, and they stretch everything and they give you a lot of good flexibility. They're good for getting getting your range to be easier, being more effortless across it. And they help also ingrain in your face and your muscle memory where each partial is. And partials, if there's any younger students or folks that hadn't heard that word yet, partials are the different notes you can play all in the same position. So, like we have the fundamental, right? So, as each partial goes up, we get used to where they are on our face, the more lip slurs we do throughout them. Josh Cockrell asked what the bore size is on my Wrath. This R3 is a 525. It's the same size as my Bach 36G back there. I also have a Yamaha Xeno that I just recently got that I like a whole lot. That's a 508, and I'm working on restoring this old Con 44H Conqueror. That's a very small bore. I think it's a 485 or something like that. But so I'm going to go start with my lip slurs. I start really easy. I start really low and slow, and I'll work my way up, and I'll kind of talk about that as I get to the end of this. I'll start on B flat up to F, and I'll go down chromatically again. Come back up. Yeah, you like that one, Nick? Yoga for the face. I'm proud of that one. Stupid but accurate. So I've come back up the slide. I'm now back in first position. I'm on an F. I'll flip it and now go up to the B flat. And same series all the way out to seventh. Reverse it, come back. Same thing. Now I'm in first on B flat, and I will be moving up to the D above the B flat. And again, now the F. once I start feeling a little bit better on my face, I try to go ahead and speed it up a little bit as long as I can keep everything clean. Now I'm going to move up to the B flat above that F. I'm going to jump over the next partial for this part of my warm up. So when I get done with that one, I like to continue doing lip slurs, and at this point, I'll do a little bit more difficult one where I'll run from the bottom of the horn up to the partial that I skipped. But instead of going to the A flat in first position because it's horribly, horribly flat, I'll move out to the G. This is in, I talked about this the other day. This is one of Joe Alessi's that he does that I really, really like. It gets my face feeling good. If I can do these, I know it's probably going to be a pretty good day. Um, and I start kind of slow, and I'll go all the way out to sixth position, and I'll bring it back in. The reason being that I can't go up to the next partial in eighth position because there's not one. There's only seven. So you'll see. So, and again, I'll speed it back up on the way back up the horn. At this point, in my personal daily warm up, I like to grab my metronome and jump onto some tonguing exercises. The one that I've been using the most lately that has been working for me is I'll set my metronome to 144. I won't do that until I start because we all know how annoying metronomes are. Um, I'll set it to 144 and I'm working on my single tongue. So I'll do 16th quarter, 16th quarter, 3/16ths, three sets of 16ths quarter. So it's a set each time. Sorry. So da 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 da, and then I'll expand out chromatically, going up and down. I'll start on the way down, and then I'll go up chromatically one from where I was. So I'll go B flat down to A, then up to B, down to A flat, up to C, and so forth till I get B flat to B flat. Um, at some point during this, I'll probably take 2 beats to catch my breath and give my tongue a brief rest because this is fast and it's still hard for me. There you go. That's the quarter note. Let's see how I do. Started to get a little bit behind, so I'm going to do that one again. Again, started to get a little bit behind. I could feel my tongue getting fat. I let it lower down and get out of its normal position and kind of in between my teeth. You probably could hear that a little bit where the articulation got fuzzy and kind of sounding. So I'm going to try that one again. So it's feeling pretty good. I see that Nick asked if I ever warm up with backing tracks. I have done that before. Michael Davis is a trombone player in New York, and he played with the Rolling Stones and has created a lot of really, really good material. I think I have some of it here. I do, and I will happily plug him. Um, This is his 15-minute warm up routine. He also has a 20-minute one, and it actually comes with the CD you can burn to your computer, or you can just, I think he has the tracks available online too. And every single one of them has not only him playing it on the first track, and then the second track will be just the backing track that you can use. It's great. There's some stuff in it that I still can't do. Um, it's nearly as clean as I'd like. There's a lot of it that's really like part of what I do as well. I definitely pull from lots of different sources to create my personal warm up. Let's see, Josh, you said single tonguing, double tonguing, or should you do both? This exercise for me is single tonguing. I found for like the more pop oriented things and country type recording sessions that I'm on, or gigs and shows that I play, single tonguing has been a lot more beneficial for me. So I'm trying to get my single tongue as clean and fast as I can get it. And that's why if I can do 16ths at 144 and feel pretty comfortable in my warm up, chances are I'm not going to find anything that I'm going to have to play that's much worse than that. That said, I do occasionally work on my double and triple tonguing stuff, which comes into play and helps out occasionally in the the video game and movie score recording stuff that I've found myself doing. Not often, but occasionally, and it's good to have that in your arsenal just in case you're asked to double tongue some 30-second notes, kind of like a Star Wars intro, something like that, where you have eight brass players. Or the other day, I think we had 16. It would have been really hairy if I tried to single tongue it. It was just fast enough. I couldn't do it. That and everybody else was double tonguing it. So I recommend working on them all. And this is a good exercise to work and make sure you're getting the same type of articulation across the range, whether you're working single, double, triple, whatever you're doing. Make sure you're doing it slow enough that you can also hear the articulation, make sure it's clean like you want it to be, um, and self-govern. Use that use that metronome. Don't let it. If you get behind it, stop, go back, see if you can get it in place. Which I'm going to keep going now. I was on F, so I should be going down to the D in the middle of the staff. Ooh, I did not like that attack. I got a little bit sloppy in there. I'm gonna do that one more time. Better. I'm gonna try that one more time too. Got a little behind for me. And I'm gonna try that last one again. The top B flat. Bad kind of ghost attack, and then I didn't like anything about it. That was better. So, back to the coffee. After I do my tonguing exercises, or that tonguing exercise, sometimes I'll add other ones in. If I know I'm going to be doing some of those more orchestral type things, I'll do the triple and double tonguing. Um, Usually, I wait until I know I have something like that coming up, just because it's not something I work on a whole lot, and I like to get my single tongue mostly my focus. So after that, I go back to lip slurs, and this is another one that's out of Joe Alessi's. I think it was the 2008. Um, can't remember who linked to that the other day, but it's on the last time I went live on Facebook. There's a link to his 2008 um, warm up pamphlet that he had for his group warm up he did, and there's some really good stuff in there. There's a lot that I don't use just because it doesn't necessarily really work for what I do. Obviously, Joe does what he does incredibly well. But what I do is not really what he does, other than having a trombone in my hand. Um, so I pull again from things that I like that work for me. So this next lip slur moves up through the horn from the kind of mid low register up to the lower end of the high register. So I'm going to start on F and it'll just leap until it gets up to B flat. So I'm going to start on F to B flat, F to D, B flat, F, D, A flat, F, B flat, A flat, F, D, A flat, F, D, B flat, and then it repeats itself. So I'm going to start on this one. It's not going to go terribly fast. I will do it all the way out and try and be slow and very precise, or slower and precise. And then I'll probably try and speed it up on my way back in as I go up chromatically again. So back to the lip slurs. I didn't like that one. I'm going to try that one again. Sixth position, starting on the C. So you saw I had a couple of missteps there and a couple of things I didn't like, so I started over and did them again. And I recommend definitely doing that. If there's something you need to slow down and make sure you're getting, like you heard when I did that going up the first time on the sixth position. Still not sounding good to me. And I just noticed at that particular moment, by backing the pressure off on my face and focusing on being relaxed and easy, suddenly it came out a lot better. And you guys could probably all hear at the end of it that it sounded a lot better than the first couple of I just tried just a second ago. So after I do that, and if anybody has any questions about lip slurs or anything like that, please let me know, and I'll try to go back and link to that in the description. Um, but I didn't think about it before. I should have. It's really good stuff. So after I do that, I like to use that exact same lip slur on the way up, and then I'll play the 2 octave scale down. And at the bottom of that scale, I then like to see if I can move between the 2 octaves of B flat. So, or whatever position I happen to be in, B flat down to E. So I'll do that lip slur up quickly, and I'll play the major scale on the way down. And for this exercise, I actually don't even use my tongue at all. I try and just move the slide really precise and get as clean of an attack as I can just by moving my slide. So I'm going to play that same lip slur up this time, down the B flat scale, or A flat, G flat. I'm trying not to use a tongue. care for that. I'm gonna try it again. I like that one better. So now I'm gonna move on down to the second position. Better. I'm gonna move on. I like the slur and I like the octave shift, but I did not like the scale, especially the second octave on the bottom. You can probably tell I don't work on my G flat scale a whole lot. That's one that I could definitely work on, getting the slide more in tune with my face. Yeah, that one I need to work on some for sure. That feels better. So I get to run 7 major scales with that one. Somewhat, obviously, that's not how I would perform them if somebody asked me to play my scales. Um, but it does get me to at least play a few of them down a couple of octaves, making sure that they're feeling somewhat good. Um, Later on in my day, I'll if I have scale work that I want to get done, I'll work on some other stuff as far as scales do in different um, major, minor, augmented, diminished, different modes, that kind of stuff. But what I go to finally is for me, I try to play across the range of the horn, starting on a B flat, and I'll move out again chromatically down. And this is also in Joe Alessi's warm up warm up pamphlet that I found really useful. It's not harder for them to play high than it is to play low. They just reach to where it is and hit the correct key at the correct time, and the note comes out. And I try to get as effortless as I can, utilizing my air, which I'm sure we all know that air is the fuel that powers these. So obviously, you got to use your air and try and utilize it as efficiently as I can while being as relaxed and effortless. So what I do is I play the major arpeggio, and then I go to the minor, then I move to the four chord. So if I'm in first position in B flat, I start on B flat again, but I then play an E flat major triad up throughout the range of the horn, and then I do a minor, E flat minor. So one major, one minor, four major, four minor. Then I play the back to the one, but I do the augmented and then the diminished. If anybody has any questions about that, please let me know. Let's see. Josh Cockrell asks anything that you recommend for practicing alternate slide positions. I use the Advanced Slide Technique book by Marshall. Something easier to start with for students. Um, I don't know. That's a really good book for utilizing um, alternate positions. And I think the best way to get younger students into it, or students in general, I need to practice that stuff more than I do as well. That's one of the things where lip slurs do help, trying to get your face in tune with where B flat in fifth position is, or say C out in sixth, C above the staff out in sixth position. Um, but I would suggest mostly easier. I know on trombone for me that I find it easier to play like the D and the E flat scale in fourth. I feel like it flows better. I think scales are a really good place to start. Um, I also know it's tough to get kids to practice their scales. So maybe even just utilizing earlier material. If you're in eighth or ninth grade, maybe you go back to your beginning band book and some of the easier stuff that you have from there. Surely you still have access to that book, or you can look it up probably online, um, and then try and play some of that stuff in alternate positions. It's in tune, like the just moving across different positions like that, just trying to have a good time with it and keep it sounding a lot like the lick always sounded, but making myself use different positions and see how that works. So that's probably the best way I can think to start is find something familiar and not terribly difficult and make it more difficult by trying to put those alternate positions in and getting used to how they feel, how they sound. I know that's a big part of it. The tendency out in fifth, sixth, seventh position is it feels more like you're playing a French horn than a trombone at that point. So getting used to how that feels, putting that much air through and how you need to put it through, uh, that's what I would probably suggest. And then moving to the advanced slide technique, which is, yeah, that's, hey, if you can get into it, get into it, but it's killer. So back to my arpeggiations. I'm starting on B flat, moving up, B flat minor, E flat minor, B flat augmented, B flat diminished. Ooh, that one's no good. I got in my way. Let's try that whole thing again. That's what it was. I'm still getting used to, speaking of alternate positions, I find the E flat, the upper E flat, sits better in kind of like a sharp second position. And I'm still trying to work that into my playing all the time. It seats better for me. It's better in tune for me. Um, and I keep forgetting to do it. So going up through there on up and down, I wanted to play it, went to third anyway, and then completely everything fell apart. So let's try that again. So there, trying to be efficient with my air and effortless with the playing, trying to be relaxed, putting it back where I meant to put it. Suddenly it came out a lot easier. So now I move on to the augmented. Obviously, I need to work on that one again too. So let me take a second and do that. So honestly, I need to spend some time on that one as well. But now I'm going to move on out to A. So I don't really like the way the upper part of that D arpeggio is sounding. So I'm going to work on that for just a second. Victor King asked, "Do you have tips for how to stop pinching on the high notes?" The best way to stop that, face, you get that dreaded little ring from the mouthpiece. Take a break. That's the best way to begin getting over the F above the staff on trombone, and it feels really effortless and kind of easy for the most part, unless you're playing for a long time. If you can play up there comfortably, but maybe the G or the A flat above it is tough, I'd recommend utilizing the alternate positions. So you can also play F in fourth position, and you can play it in sixth. So if you can get fourth position to feel the same as it does in first, and keep your airstream steady with good support from your diaphragm and fast air, and pull the slide in slowly, suddenly you're playing G flat G and a flat A flat, um, as easily as you are on an F. Same thing, if you can play it in sixth and keep everything feeling very, very relaxed with fast air, and get used to how that feels, suddenly you can play up the B flat and avoid um, getting the pinch. Because I know everybody gets used to that. You feel like, oh, it's a high note, I have to work really hard. And you get that pinch. So being relaxed, you should be able to try those tricks. And that works the same for lower notes. Say you can't get to that F. If you can play the first position D, you can play that in fourth and then keep it feeling the same, pull it up and get to that F. Or any number of notes. There's all kinds of weird alternate positions that are very helpful in, especially younger players. I've gotten a couple of beginners playing up to Fs already just by getting them to use the right amount of air, uh, which it's always more. If you ask how much air is enough, more is enough. That's what you need is more. Um, Me included a lot of times. So utilizing a whole lot of air, even if you're not putting it all through the horn, because obviously we're not using as much air to play high, we're using faster air but less of it. We still have a whole lot in reserve, and our diaphragm's compressing that air and having that foundation there, that backup of air behind it, ready to keep everything moving fast, is what gets it easier to play in those upper registers. Also, doing those lip splitters, building the muscles so that you have full facility and control, will be what helps you get to where you can play upper register stuff with less pinching. I hope that answered your question a little bit. Um, that said, let me see if I can play this D arpeggio now. Let's see if I can remember my D arpeggio. There we go. And now to D minor. There we go. And diminished. If anybody has any more questions, please let me know. When I get done with that, I'll try and answer Josh Cockrell's question from before. He asked about getting into being a professional trombone player, and I'll try and touch on that. I'm going to look and see if there's any questions on Facebook from the post that I put up just real quick. Let's see. Does not look like it. No, cool. No other questions that I see. Ah, Courtney Oliver is watching. Hi, or at least she was 36 minutes ago. Wow, this is a long warm up. Um, so yeah, if you guys have any more questions, please let me know. There we go. So as I move down to the G below that A flat, I'll probably continue all the way up to the G. I probably could have done the A flat, but I'm not trying again. I'm still effectively warming up, trying to be effortless and not trying to push too high with everything. So I'm gonna go up to the G, hopefully it'll come out good, and keep moving down the horn. Remember the A flat I had to play in a different position? I did it again. Let's try that. There we go. So I need to work on that one still, along with the alternate E flat in there. Keep going. I'm also terrible at seventh position because I'm short. So I have to keep working on that one. And you'll probably see me twist to the side. Because it's a long reach. Start that whole thing again. That was a little bit better. And on to my least favorite G flat. So I have to work on my B arpeggio apparently. So yeah, I definitely need to work on my B arpeggio still. And again, I do this. I don't do this section every day. Obviously, I should. And this is part that I need to work on. So as we're all quarantined, hopefully you'll all see me get better as I do this more. Yeah, I need to work on that still. But the G flat diminished sounded all right. That one should still be pretty good. It was the B flat and B flat minor. There we go. That one got a little bit better. But it's better than it used to be, which you don't know that. You haven't heard me do it in a long time. But I have, and I can tell you it's definitely better than it used to be. And if I did it more often and slowed it down and paid attention to what I was doing, obviously that'll help. Trying to be very precise and very intentional with what I'm working on is very important. So Josh Cockrell had asked before the uh, live stream started um, what it took to get into being a professional trombone player. So my personal path has been a little bit odd. I went to school with a lot of folks from Troy to be a band director. Um, I actually did teach for a couple years. I also worked for Royal Caribbean with their cruise line for a while, which is an excellent, excellent introduction to being a professional musician because that was my entire job. And I was fortunate that the first ship I went on, the musicians there were all phenomenal. And I had to step up my game quickly in an effort to hang with them. And I did not realize all cruise ship musicians were not like this. There were people coming from Berkeley with masters in performance that couldn't play their horn, but I guess Berkeley has to pay the bills too. There were people you could tell used to be great, but had played on cruise ships probably for 30 years, and they really didn't like where their life had gone. And so they stopped playing great. Um, but the first, pay the bills, Nick, exactly. I realized I wanted to no longer be out at sea and be away from my friends and family for months at a time. So I moved back home to Panama City, Florida, where I grew up. I got to teach with Nick Eustathiou down at Bay High School there, as well as play gigs all along the Gulf Coast between, I think I went down to Orlando a few times, all the way over to Biloxi and New Orleans here and there. But I met a tuba player, a guy named Joe Murphy. If you don't know Joe Murphy, go look him up on YouTube. I'm sure there's videos somewhere, or look up Super Tuba. He not only is a great bass, bass guitar and upright bass player, but his tuba playing is insane. It's like Maynard Ferguson and John Coltrane got together and decided to make a tuba player. Yes, Nick, we did have fun. We had a great time teaching that year. But so Joe suggested I meet a couple. Barry Green had been on thousands of recordings, and Roy Agee at the time was on the road with Prince before Prince died. And they were both very kind, and they said, "Hey, man, yeah, you can definitely get work here." So I took a chance and moved. That was probably the single most big push for me to do well in Nashville quickly was that I knew someone. I knew someone here, or that had been here, that had moved back, that vouched for the fact that I could play well, and that's a thing. Obviously, there's plenty of people in Nashville that can play great. Um, but the other thing was, I came in, I was happy to sit in on rehearsals, I was happy to meet people. Um, Big thing was I was happy, and I chose to be joyful and excited about meeting people and have a good time with them. And people had a good time being around me. So having your personal life in order and being able to be someone people want to be around, as well as being able to play your horn well, went a really long way. That said, I did a lot of work for nothing off, like, initially. And by work, I mean I played a lot of rehearsals. I got to meet a lot of people, and at the time there were a lot of big bands rehearsing in town a lot, and that led to people wanting to get my name, get my information. They got me in touch with people that ran wedding and corporate bands. Got to start doing that. Um, it's great money, and except for this particular moment in history, it, you're working all the time. You can guarantee almost every weekend will be filled up, and a lot of times you'll be doing stuff during the week for, especially in Nashville, there's conferences all the time. I got to go do road work in the horn section for a country artist named Jake Owen for a few years. It led to TV work. I got calls from people I did those bands with to do TV spots with Thomas Rhett and Smokey Robinson and Cam. She's a country artist. and also led to getting into the recording scene and just being, a fairly consistent player that played in time and in tune. And again, so many people enjoyed being around because no one wants to be sitting in a room for 4 hours next to someone they can't stand that's really dark. Everybody wants to be around somebody that's having a good time and playing well. And fortunately, I had those things going for me. So I've managed to make my way into that scene uh, a lot more lately, which has been great. It's kind of like shifting. Some of the older guys are retiring, and I'm getting the chance to do more of that. Tony asked, "What would I tell my younger self?" Um, I'd probably give myself some practice tips as far as things to work on. Thanks, Nick. I would I'd probably sit myself down with this routine and be like, hey, do this all the time and work on your single tonguing and make sure you're doing it with a tuner. Because back then I know I needed to work on that. Um, and I'd also make sure and let my younger self know that any work that I did then will definitely pay off later. Um, and it has. Fortunately, the work that I did then is paying off now. I would love to have had more to work on. I'd also make sure that my younger self knew to listen a lot and to a lot of different stuff and be real open minded about listening to different music that I'm not necessarily used to, or maybe I don't think I'm into. Let's see. Nick Ostathu says, "Do you know the trombone player from St. Paul and the Broken Bones?" Yes, and I think you guys do too. If y'all know the band St. Paul and the Broken Bones, they're great. And the trombone player Chad Fisher, who also went to college with us at Troy. And actually, the horn section I toured with Jake, uh, we've gotten to play a few times with a gospel artist named CeCe Winans. Um, and the very first thing that they did with her was for um, Austin City Limits. And I was stuck in Nashville, which I can't complain. I was playing um, The Grinch, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, that musical. I was playing Hang with Chad and those guys, which I wish I could have done that, but I was busy working, which was cool. I'm happy about that. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to ask about, other than Nick asking if I know Chad, which he knows I do? If not, it's 1:15. Been on here about an hour. I'll give it a few more minutes. Oh, I know something I meant to plug. Hey, happy to take the time. And seriously, y'all go comment, especially you band directors that I tagged in that post on Facebook. I can't talk. Um, Comment things you'd like to maybe have me work on. Something I'd like to go through. There's a friend of mine that lives here in town, another trombone player named Oscar Utterstrom, and he has created this book, and you can pick it up oscarutterstrom.com. I'll try and tag that also. If you have any younger students or any students at all that are looking to get into improv, it's an excellent resource talking about following guide tones, how to find those guide tones, and work on them. That will really, it'll kind of unlock everything with the intro into improvisation and jazz and that kind of stuff, which it's helpful, especially for jazz, but it's also good to know if you end up needing to play a solo on a pop tune or a country tune or any of that kind of stuff. Victor, you're very, very welcome. Hope you have a nice day too. Well, yeah, unless anybody has any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and call that, and then I'll take a little bit of time for myself before I teach a couple Skype lessons in a little bit. Also, that if anybody has any students interested, please feel free to have them reach out. Feel free to give them my information. I think they can contact me through the channel here, or let's see. Ah, Shaylee asked how do I reach those higher notes if I have an eighth notes ahead of them? Well, part of it is you need to make sure you're working on where you breathe and also how fast you can breathe. I know for some of the stuff that I do, I have to breathe in between eighth notes, which is not easy. So you're talking about getting really quick breaths. Trying to sneak them in as fast as you can so that you have plenty of air. Also, making sure you're trying to have plenty of reserve air before you get to the line leading up the upper register. Um, and again, remember that the high notes, they only require that you're looking for the best possible places to breathe, as well as working on getting really fast, quick breaths. Um, like I was just doing in that eighth note passage. Eighth note passage. Doing it with a metronome would be better because I know that I kind of phased time a little bit there. But that would be an excellent way to work on it, trying to sneak breaths in between eighth notes at different tempos. Start slow and make sure you're snapping your diaphragm really, really fast, trying to get a big breath in, trying to get it really, really tanking up as much as you can, and taking maybe more breaths than you need also ahead of time to make sure you have reserves for as you try and ascend up to the upper register. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging out. Like I said, ask me for other things you want me to do, and I'll happily try to. Hey, I pronounced your name right. Excellent. Hope it helps. Um, I have a niece named Bailey that's spelled almost the exact same way, so I had a little bit of help ahead of time. I cheated. Um, yeah, let me know if there's things you guys want me to talk about. Lord knows we all have plenty of time. Go get on your horns, work on stuff, practice, get better at things you're not good at. Think of questions and ask me later. Think you can ask me here um, as long as this video is up. And I know it's live now, but I'm just going to leave it up on the channel, and you have the link. Feel free to come back, ask questions. I'll check on it and see what's going on. Feel free to email. Y'all have a good day.